Whenever I work with a new athlete, someone who's relatively new to running, and we get past training talk and start looking more at technique analysis, one of the things that I often find with the athletes that I'm working with is they're very aware of athletes who look good when they run. They know what it looks like to be a smooth mover. They know what efficient running technique looks like. But when it comes to their own running performance, they find that crossover between actually observing good technique and applying good technique to be a really difficult challenge. And that's one thing that I do at Relaxed Running with the technique analysis that I do. I'll get an athlete to not only recognize smooth movement, but start to take practical steps towards implementing that smooth movement into their own running. So today I've got footage here of world marathon record holder Eliud Kipchoge. Perhaps the greatest marathon, well, definitely the greatest marathoner we've ever seen based on times alone. He's known not only for his quality of training, his quality of performance, but he's one of the smoothest movers on the circuit. And I think it's no coincidence that the technical side of his running is as smooth as so many of the other elements of his running that I just mentioned. So what's he doing really well? So today I want to just go through this footage with you briefly and highlight a couple of factors that will allow you to start making some practical changes to your own running. Obviously, it's a very individualized sport, but these are some simple guidelines. So the first thing we want to see is when it comes to tension in the upper body, you can see that Eliud Kipchoge, there's almost no tension. I mean, look how relaxed he is through his shoulders. You can see so clearly that he's a very relaxed athlete through his shoulders. There's not a lot of over rotation. It's a very symmetrical movement. If you have a look at the left side of his body in comparison to the right side of his body, with each arm swing, there's just such little change in the backswing. You'll often see with a newer runner or someone who's not used to running under pressure, tension being stored through the shoulders. With a guy like Kipchoge, despite this being the Olympic final in Tokyo a few years ago, he's still so relaxed. He's just made a move from about 12 Ks from home. And one of the things that complements his move is he looks as relaxed now as he did 5 Ks into the run. If you have a look at some of the chase packs in this particular footage, you can see a real over rotation amongst a lot of the athletes. You can see their head starting to go back. You can see a lot of tension. So what is he doing that's allowing him to do this? Well, first of all, he's back. One of the areas of performance that we often see people struggle with when it comes to storing tension is you'll see the back muscles get all tight between the shoulder blades. That's one of the first places that goes. So if your back gets quite tight like this and you try taking a deep breath, I mean, it's a really difficult thing to do because already the front of your body is quite tense. So you've got to learn to develop relaxation through the back. And the best way to do that is just through awareness, just looking at yourself throughout the day, asking yourself, all right, how am I actually feeling? Am I tense through there? You'll often notice this transition take place when you're going from like a jog to a more steady workout pace, or even more specifically, if you're going from a part of the session or part of the race where you're feeling good and you're going into a part of the session where you're feeling bad, naturally, a lot of the tension will come through the back, come through the shoulders here, come through the jaw, through the neck. As you can see with a guy like Eliud Kipchoge, there's just no tension at all through his upper body. The more we watch it, the more we can see it's just one smooth movement. More than that, when we get to this side footage, you'll often see people's running technique be categorized broadly into 3 different areas. You've got the first one who's like too upright. You'll see the athlete who's so upright, they're almost leaning back, often a sign that they're tense through their shoulder blades, like we just mentioned. The flip side of that is often we'll see an athlete who through the front part of their body is like they can be very tense and almost leaning over. They can be on a nice angle from their legs to their hips, but then from their hips, they get to a side point where they're leaning over like this. What's the problem with that? Well, knee lift is severely affected. And the momentum that you're trying to carry through each step of your running is impacted pretty negatively as well. Because if you're leaning over from your hips, you can stand up and do this. If you stand up, lean over at your hips and try and lift your knee up high, and then straighten up a little more and try and lift your knee up, watch the elevation that you get through that knee. Knee lift in any event, whether it's 100 meters or the marathon, is important because it directly impacts stride length. So have a look at Eliud Kipchoge. Now, if we drew a line from the top of his head to the bottom of his heel, there's an ever so slight forward leaning angle. It's if you drew a line, it'd be like this. It's not over the top angle and it's not going backwards. There's just a nice forward lean. Now, combined with the symmetry of his upper body movement, and combined with the fact that there's not a lot of energy being thrown around through a misuse of his arms, every single stride that he takes complements the next one. You can see there's absolutely no breaks being put on with each stride. It's like as one foot hits the ground, the next one's ready to go. It's just a nice, smooth movement. So for you as an athlete, one thing I would encourage you to do if you've never done any technique work is, well, first of all, feel free to jump over to Relax Running and reach out to me. We can do some technical analysis together. But focus on those things. Where are you storing tension? Is there tension through your back, your shoulders, your arms? Is your upper body arm swing symmetrical? Or when you get tired, are you throwing the upper body around a lot and forcing the lower body to have to try and deal with the the over movement? What do you say? Yeah, just the over exertion of energy through your upper body. Or is there a nice stability there? The second thing is just asking yourself and observing, what angle are you running on? Is there, a nice smooth angle in terms of each stride complementing each other? Or is there some jolty movement that needs to be eliminated? I think when you can work on these three things, your running performance is going to be complemented, not just through an increase in performance through your training, but just through efficiency of movement. So if you've got any questions about that, feel free to put it in the comments below. Any comments about this video, please let me know. I'd love to hear what's worked with your own technique and helped you improve your running performance. But guys, if you're after more of this kind of stuff, please hit subscribe and hang around. I've got new videos coming out on running performance every single week. So like this if it was helpful. Let's continue that conversation in the comments below.